Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I'm really excited for today's video. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about the PIMO life and basically ways to cope when you're a part of that lifestyle, because being PIMO, I can speak from experience, is one of the toughest challenges I've had to endure through my transition from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses to now not. So I'm definitely really excited to kind of share these little tips and tricks on how to just kind of stay mentally grounded, happy during this stage in your life as being PIMO. So if you don't know what PIMO is, it simply stands for physically in, mentally out. So there are, the ones who have woken up, but, for whatever reasons, they decide to stay inside the congregation. So, this could really be due to simply the fear that's instilled in them that what if they are wrong, for being PIMO. The fear of death is a very strong mechanism that's used in the organization to keep people in. Losing their family, that's a huge deal. I mean, that's the main reason why I was PIMO for so long, is because, although none of my dad's side of the family was a witness, my entire mom's side was, the majority. And then of course both my parents, and as I said in my last video, my mom was my best friend, so I didn't want to lose her, and I didn't want to lose my dad. And so there's a lot of reasons. If you're married and you have a wife and you have kids, or you have a husband and you have kids, really there's so many reasons why people say PIMO. I think one of the biggest challenges is when you do have children, because not only are you responsible for yourself and your spirituality while you're a witness, you're also having to be in control of their spirituality and their growth. And so a lot of people do have that fear of bringing their children out and the repercussions of it. Now, I can only speak for myself, but, as a child, I definitely tried to be the best Jehovah's Witness that I could be. I wanted to go out in service all the time. I wanted to, on spring break, I wanted to pioneer, regular auxiliary, or not auxiliary, but I wanted to get those, those hours with my family in the ministry. We always made that a goal, to get auxiliary pioneer hours over whatever break, whether it was spring break or Christmas break. We would try to make, those breaks all dedicated toward the preaching work. And so that was something that I wanted to do. But, when you're a kid, you're groomed to be a certain way. And I can say that had I been taken out of the religion as a child, it would have been extremely confusing. It would have caused a lot of conflict. But I would rather have had that happen to me than to be 17, 18, 19 years old, going through the PIMO feelings and feeling terrible about myself and being afraid of disappointing my parents. Because if we're in the age of technology and knowledge now, where are we going to be, in 5, 10, 15 years? So, I want to go over topics of, kind of how to have the conversation, how I had the conversation, and, just to really think about the toll that it takes mentally on you, on your family members. They may be too afraid to speak out, and that's something that if you make the first step, you could end, the cycle right now for you and your family. No matter how spiritual they may seem, that's one thing that I think about me. A lot of people thought that I was just, I was a single sister that was regular pioneering in Russian, congregation. And I think the fact that I left, everyone was like, what? We didn't see that coming. But, I feel like sometimes the most spiritual people can have those PIMO feelings, because it's just such a toll on your mental state and your I don't know, and just your confidence as well, if that makes any sense, because I feel like I tried to overcompensate all of the time. I reached out and I extended myself as much as I could because I wanted to make up for the guilt that I felt having a PIMO mindset. So, anyways, I do want to jump in. But first of all, before I even go into this, again, validation is such an important thing to me. So throughout my videos, you're going to hear me say, you're validated, because that is something that we take for granted in our day-to-day lives, is being validated for the decisions that we make. So when it's something like this, where it's a lifestyle change, and your mind is conflicting with what it thinks it knows is right, validation is such an important thing to have. So I want you to know that you're completely validated. I was partially PIMO for about 3.5 years before I actually came forward. And honestly, I told myself I would never leave. I said, you know what? I can live this way. I can do this, but I will never leave. No one can make me. No one will know what's going on in my head. I can keep this up. And, as I mentioned, before and everything, it's like, as time went on, I was sitting in the auditorium listening to things that I did not believe, I did not support. Especially when I found out about the child abuse, when I was going out in service and, a mother opened the door or a kid opened the door or I saw toys in the yard, it's like my guilt just completely pinged, inside of my brain constantly. And it was the fact that I knew that I couldn't recruit families into this organization knowing what's going on. And I'm just going to stop there. A lot of people say, Jehovah's Witnesses, we don't recruit. I mean, let's face it, they're door-to-door salesmen that recruit. I mean, the whole point of going door-to-door is to start Bible studies. The whole point of starting Bible studies is to get them to join the religion. The whole point to get them to join the religion is to contribute. So it is recruiting. I'm sorry, in my mindset. That's just my opinion. Now, I did feel like I was trapped in living someone else's life. And if you're PIMO and you're watching this, I really want to make you feel like I can help in these coping mechanisms, because I felt like I was trapped for so long. I mean, I had friends, I had family, and going through this day-to-day life of how am I ever going to live up to their expectations, or how am I ever going to be like them, because I am struggling so hard mentally. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go into the coping mechanisms while being PIMO. Eventually I want to go over videos on how to fade, how to communicate your feelings. I'm going to touch on that a little bit because I am going to go into how I address being PIMO. But, to start, this video is going to be, on how to cope during that mental state. The first thing that comes to mind for me is keep educating yourself, because from the platform, they are feeding you fear tactics. They are feeding you guilt, and they want you to feel like this is the only place you can be for survival. And so as a PIMO person, you already are dealing with, like I said, that conflict in your mind. You're already dealing with even those guilty feelings. I felt guilty. I feel like there are people that have watched my videos that when they clicked on it, they probably felt guilty. And they want to make sure they erase it from their history, and they don't want to subscribe or like it because they feel like they can't, because it could get them caught. And, as a PIMO person, when you're sitting in the audience and you're being told, this is the only way to life, in Armageddon, we're going to watch the people around us be destroyed, and it's such a scary feeling, because in your mind, you're like, oh my God, Jehovah does know all things, and he's going to know how I feel. But again, with the validation, to me, in my mind, while I was transitioning out of the witness, the witness religion, I told myself, if I am wrong, after everything that I have come to understand, everything I've come to know, if I'm wrong, Jehovah does read hearts. He knows I'm not leaving because, I want to go party and I want to have worldly friends and I want to date, and I rationalize the reasons behind my state of being PIMO, because I knew it was for the safety of the kids in the congregation. That killed me. I love children. I absolutely just adore kids. And so when I thought of those poor babies being put at risk like that, and all the adults that are now my age or older than me that went through that as children, and it destroyed their childhood, that absolutely rips a hole through me. And so my reasons were of substance. I knew that I couldn't go against my conscience of bringing in people, knowing what was going on behind the scenes. And so, having that, just reaffirming the reason for your faith changes is important, because like I said, from that platform, they're going to hit you so hard with those tactics. And it's so important to stand firm in your faith and what you believe, and make sure that you understand exactly your reasonings, being clear with yourself, being honest and upfront with yourself why you're like that. And if it is because, say you want a party, say you want that freedom, if that is why, do additional research, educate yourself. I understand that, when you're a teenager, being a witness can feel very constricting, especially if you're in public school, because you've got people that are dating around you, people that are going to parties and seeming like having all this fun, and then you're a witness, and on your Friday nights you're preparing for, service the next day. So, I'm not saying that it's wrong to want that freedom. I completely get that. But just educate yourself more on the facts of the religion as well. Because if your reasonings are more on the side of you just want to experience life, then maybe the PIMO life isn't for you, and you need to just step away, and you need to just, go through the consequences of figuring out who you are as a person and who you are, growing as an adult. And then being able to really step out and understand, okay, so do I agree with these policies? Do I agree with disfellowshipping, with, what goes on with excommunication in that aspect? How do I feel about, the governing body and its authority? But really ask yourselves these deeper questions, because, you'll feel better about the reasons why you're leaving if you have an educated mindset behind it. Because I went through that. I went through my party phase really early. One of my best friends, he had parties all the time growing up, and so I got a taste of that really early. So I don't know. I feel like there's so many reasons why people become PIMO that I don't even know about, but that's just me. So another thing that I feel like helps is enjoy the relationships with the people that you do have now while you have them. I didn't take for granted my friends, and I didn't take for granted the time I had left with my family, because I knew I eventually wanted to leave. And so by this point, I was taking in everything else. The people in the congregation are not the problem, besides the ones that are committing the horrible crimes inside of it. But, I'm not saying that every congregation has them. But, the people in the religion are genuinely kind, loving people. You build relationships for life with them, because you do have the same goals, you do have the same mindsets, on the outside. And so, it can feel hard to relate to them once you become PIMO, because you feel like, I don't even want to associate with them, because I know I'm just going to disappoint them in a couple months or in a year or whatever, however long your time frame is. But don't separate yourself from taking in those memories and enjoying them. Because, I know I hurt a lot of people. And so I slowly started to distance myself from them when I started seriously leaving. And so, that's something that could help, as well. But in the meantime, while you're PIMO hardcore, enjoy those moments that you have with them, because, those memories are going to serve a huge purpose in the future for you. And I would definitely recommend just making mental notes of everything that's going on in your life at the time, and the memories you have with your family. And like with my mom, I remember she knew I was having doubts and everything at this time, but we went and we drove around. We went to a candy store. We went to my favorite brunch spot. We looked at comic books. I'm a comic book nerd. She is too. And it was just fun. It was just nice, to be able to spend time with her. We didn't talk about the religion. And it felt so good to feel that and know that you still have a relationship with them in your heart, because let's face it, we don't leave them when we leave the PIMO life. Don't feel like you're leaving the people around you. They're leaving you. They're only with you on one condition, that you stay one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the only reason why they aren't in your life, is because you're no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And yes, that was your decision, but the consequences were not your decision. That has nothing to do with you. That is all on them. And, so make yourself feel validated. I feel like validated is going to be the new this for me. If you watch my first video, how I'm always doing this. But in this video, validate is going to be a huge word. Word of the day. But anyway, just go through those emotions. When you're going through those emotions, rather, after you leave, those moments with your family and your friends are going to be so special to you. So, I understand segregating yourself from them as you are in the fading process. But before you start fading, just take in all of those memories. Very important. And while you are doing that, be yourself, because when the fading starts to happen, your confidence will drop. And I shouldn't say will drop, but it did for me, because I tried so hard to live up to their expectations, but I couldn't. And so once your confidence in who you are grows, once your reasons for leaving are firmly in your heart and in your mind and in your soul, you're going to walk out of there with your head high, and you're going to say, you know what? I know why I'm doing this. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it. And so while you're PIMO, establish those as deeply as you can. And that goes along with educating yourself, really. I mean, I saw a huge difference in how I felt about my fading process once I had all the facts to back up, once I had all the data to back up my reasoning. So whoever came at me, I got so many instant messages on Facebook and so many instant messages on Instagram about, don't you know what you're doing, and you're hurting your family, and it's so sad to see you end up this way. But I didn't recant. I sent a paragraph this long explaining why, and explaining why I will never go back, and why they're hurting me, and I know I'm hurting them. That's just, I know that, and that sucks, but they're leaving me. I'm not leaving them. So, I feel like that is such a big thing. It's just grow your confidence in your reasoning to feel validated. So I think one thing that's super important to kind of end this video is communication. Half of the pain during being PIMO is the hiding. And you don't have to directly come out and sit down with your family and be like, hey, I'm having doubts. You don't have to do that. You can, what I did, so I had a roommate at the time of being PIMO, and I was scared to death to tell her. I was freaking out. But I'm literally getting anxiety, like, talking about it. But I was like, I'm going to be losing my family, but now I'm going to lose my home. I know she's not going to want me to live there anymore because I'm a spiritual danger to her. So one day, we were sitting on the couch, and I had this Dr. Phil episode on about witnesses. And I kind of wanted to see her reaction. And then I remember just kind of sitting there like, you know, if she tells me to turn it off, she tells me to turn it off. But if she doesn't tell me to turn it off, you know, okay. So the whole thing played through, and we just kind of had a conversation. You know, I was like, yeah, like that really does suck. You know, I told her about my brother, you know, she knew about him, but I was like, you know, it just sucks. I don't get to have a relationship with him because of this, you know, and, you know, just talked about the episode and everything, found related, you know, but I dropped it after that. I didn't push it. I just let that sit for a while. And then little things would come up, you know, and I think one thing that, you know, as for a family, you know, let's say that you're the head of the household in the family, or, you know, if you're the head of the household, ask them, sit down with them, and, you know, maybe even during a family worship, you know, and be like, so I want to hear from you all. I want to know your thoughts on disfellowshipping. Whether it's positive or negative, open up the floor and say, I want this to be a judgment-free zone. How do you honestly feel about disfellowshipping? If they have a disfellowshipped family member or a friend, say, how do you feel about the communication with them? You know, and ask for that common ground. You know, you can do it in such a genuine way. Make them feel comfortable to open up to you, because you may not know what's going on in their mind either, especially if you have kids, you know, and if they've heard anything that's gone on, you know, that could be something that's really heavy on their hearts and they're afraid to bring it up to you. So don't be afraid to have those conversations. You can even use Jehovah's name in the process, you know, because you're finding that common ground. Like, you know, you can tell your family, I want to be open about what's going on in the organization, and I know that you know, a lawsuit has been filed against us for this. You know, how do you feel about that? You know, how do you think Jehovah feels about this that's going on? You know, use that common ground with them. And I feel like if you just show genuine, heartfelt conversations, make them feel comfortable. If my parents had done that for me, I feel like it would have been a lot different, because I had doubts early, and I wish we had addressed them earlier, because I could have really opened myself up to them, and I don't feel it would have came up as such a shock when I did leave, because I completely threw them off base, I feel. So, I don't know, I feel like that is something that would be really good for families, or if you're a family member in your household that's PIMO, ask to have, if you're, say you're, you know, 18 years old and your parents are conducting family worship, you know, ask them, say, hey, I really want to talk about something I heard on the news about this, or whatever is bothering you. I really want to talk about disfellowshipping, because I want to know the real reasons behind it. Use it as a conversation, you know, and they love you, your family loves you, and they want what's best for you. And whether, you know, of course that means, you know, they want what's best for you, but that means, of course, Jehovah's organization. But I think having those conversations, you can go about them in a way that is really showing the reasons behind it, and that you're being genuine. Anyways, this is a super long video. I think it's the longest one I've made so far. But I just wanted to go through a couple little ways to cope through that lifestyle. And next video, I am going to talk about the Psalm book. I had a couple people message me about what I found in the Psalm book that was just creepy. So I'm going to go through that. I'm in the process of writing that one right now, actually. But I really like this topic, so I am going to go back on ways to fade after that as well. Because I feel like fading is one of the hardest parts of being PIMO. So, anyways, stay strong, my friends, and email me. I've gotten so many good emails and comments, and I'm so excited about it. So keep them coming, and, you know, talk to me and tell me more about your life, and tell me more about how, you know, how I can help through my videos, what you would like to see. It helps me a lot. and I'm just really excited to talk about, you know, the next couple videos as well. So keep them coming, and I really hope that this video helped you if you're PIMO right now, and you know, message me, email me, my email's below. So if you have your story about being PIMO or you have any direct questions, ask me and I would love it. So anyway, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you